This book is dedicated to my loving wife. I am grateful for her love and support. She has always been there for me, loving me, even when I was unlovable. I also want to thank my friends and family for their contributions, editing, and making creative comments. I value their input. Before we begin, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and comment. I look forward to your feedback. And now, Chad Fury and the Dragon Song, Chapter 1, This Is Where I Died. I know I could find a more comfortable spot to sit and talk, but I want to be here. I need to be here on this empty rooftop, on this abandoned building, overlooking that tattoo parlor across the street. I must be here, because this is where I died. And no, I'm not a ghost. I'm still very much flesh and blood, but the man I was died. That man fought tooth and claw to keep living. But in the end, there was no choice. Death came as predictably for his life as it comes for each of us mortals. It seems right somehow, my talking to you, partly because you've been blamed for changing men into monsters. But we both know the truth about that. Moonlight has nothing to do with changing men into monsters. The sisterhood is to blame for all of that. I know, I have first-hand experience. It's a long story, my dear Mr. Moon. Let me get as comfortable as I can here on this rooftop, and you just keep looking down from above. I don't expect you to reply. Please, just let me ramble. Who am I? I'm glad you asked. The name's Chad Fury. I'm a 27-year-old pre-med student, or at least I was when all of this started. Before college, I spent a little time in the Army. I went into the Army immediately after high school, mostly because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I figured the Army was a good place to be while I figured all of that out. When I left the Army, I went to Oklahoma University in Norman, Oklahoma. Like I said before, I was pre-med. It was my last semester. All I had left was 1 month of classes and then finals, graduation, and off to medical school. That's when everything went wrong, badly wrong. I suppose it all really started with the decision to get a tattoo. When I was in the Army, a lot of guys got tattoos for all kinds of reasons. Some got theirs when basic training was over. Some got theirs when they got their deployment orders, and some just because they wanted to fit in. I decided I would get mine when I graduated college, and I was on my way to making something of my life. I was about to graduate, so I determined that it was time for me to mark the occasion with my tattoo. I had done research on the local artists, visited tattoo parlors, looked at thousands of designs on the internet, and had finally chosen Bill Warrant as the man I wanted for the job. It was 2 p.m. on a Friday afternoon when I walked into Imagine Inc. to keep my appointment. And there she was, the most striking girl I could have ever pictured. I could not take my eyes off of her. Her green eyes danced, and her dark brown hair hung playfully around her shoulders. Her high cheekbones made the corners of her mouth appear broad and innocent. She wore a perfect tan on flawless features. I guess she was about 25. The green-eyed girl spoke to me before I even considered speaking to her. She asked me what I was doing, and I told her how getting a tattoo was my graduation gift from me to me. The green-eyed girl asked what design I had chosen, and out of my hip pocket, I pulled the picture of the dragon I had copied from the internet. I told her it was going on my left arm. She clicked her tongue a couple of times and shook her head in disapproval. She pointed out pictures of bears, wolves, tigers, and lions hanging on the wall. She told me one of those would be much better. She nagged me so much that I finally pretended to agree to the bear, just so I could change the subject. It was at that moment Bill Warrant called me back to his work area. I took off my shirt and settled into the chair. The green-eyed girl followed me in. She handed me a slip of paper with the name Lisa and a phone number. "That's my cell," she said. "Call me." Bill cleared his throat, shook his head, and shot a disapproving look at Lisa. "You might want to find something else to do for a while," Bill said. Lisa slid a hand over my right shoulder and across my chest as she spoke in a sultry voice. "We're friends, aren't we? What's your name?" I coughed. Chad Fury." Lisa smiled. "Well, Chad Fury. We're good friends now." Lisa slid her hands down both of my arms, lightly drug her fingertips across the back of my hands, and squeezed my hands tightly. She smiled and kissed the air just an inch from my lips. "You will call me tomorrow. It's Saturday, and I want to go out. You will take me out to dinner." Lisa turned quickly and left. Bill looked disapprovingly in her direction. "Keep away from her," Bill said. "That one's trouble. like sane men run away from. I just sat there dumbfounded. I'd never been approached like that before. I had a girlfriend, a serious girlfriend. I was even planning on proposing right after graduation. But there was something about this green-eyed girl. It felt like she was deep inside my brain. It was something I could never describe. Somehow, she was in my head and I knew I wasn't getting her out. Bill proceeded with the dragon design I wanted. It was 4 hours later when he sent me on my way with a large piece of gauze covering the work he had done. When I got back to the dorm room, I saw a note from Kevin, my roommate, sitting on the mini refrigerator between our beds. The note said he had a date. I knew that meant he might not be back until morning. I grabbed a slice of leftover pizza from the refrigerator and plopped down on the side of my bed. I took a couple of bites and immediately got sick to my stomach. I raced to the toilet, but I didn't make it in time. My shirt and pants took the full hit. I took off my shirt and pants and hung around the toilet to see if I was through emptying my digestive tract. After a few minutes, the sick feeling let up a little, and I decided a shower might make me feel better. I removed the gauze from my arm. That's when I saw it. I could have sworn the dragon's tail moved. I shook my head and blinked a couple of times while letting out a 4-letter word. The skin on my arm was puffy and pink around the fresh design. I touched the dragon's tail. The skin was tender to the touch, about like a sunburn and a little like a bee sting. The shower cleared my head, and I admired the new ink under the cool running water. The dragon wasn't moving. I stepped out of the shower to dry off. That's when I saw in the mirror that the dragon wasn't on my arm. I looked over at my arm and just stared in wonder. The skin was pink and puffy where the dragon should be, but the ink was gone. I looked in the mirror and saw the dragon. The dragon was on my chest. It flicked its tail and shook its head, ran across my ribs, and disappeared around my back. I screamed like a little girl. I tried to look at my back, but there was nothing there. I looked at my left arm, and there it was. The dragon was moving and pawing at the air. The room started to spin. My head felt strange, like it was full of cotton. I could barely think. I stumbled back to the bed and collapsed face down. I totally collapsed. Everything went dark, and I was immediately asleep and dreaming.